ideas, many sections of this book. So many sections, many blocks we have covered by now, and I think you have understood much of it. You have understood, and many things have gone into your mind regarding the evolution of English in India, how it got, settled in India, how English, both language and literature, how it settled, how it assimilated with the people of India, how we Indians accepted English in India, and how gradually it developed we saw. And also, we were going back and forth to colonial times, and then we came forward also to the post-colonial times. So we have gone back and forth to understand how English came, how it got absorbed, how we received it, okay, and how we responded to the language. This is Bimla. Bimla, kindly mute your phone or whatever system you are in.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Yes. So we have done all these things, and yesterday we had started with Canon's setting. Okay. But canon setting we did from the point of view of Western writers. We discussed Eliot, we discussed who else? F.R. Lewis, we discussed Matthew Arnold, and how they initiated their talk regarding canons. And you can see that was very confined that we discussed yesterday, and then how it got broader and broader with the with English reaching the broader corners of the world. Today we've arrived India. We will see how in the Indian context we receive canon, and usually who said this canon in India. Okay, so we can say that the earliest writings they had certain ideas, certain writings which which constituted the canonical system of literature, or canonical perception of Indian literature. We see that was established from our writings that got initiated in the 18th century, from then onwards. Okay. Now, could you understand what is this canon and what is this setting and how it was said? Have you understood that in my yesterday's class? So, in very simple and in very common terms, I can say that canon setting is some rules. Okay, some common principles evolved in the setting in the setting sorry in the writing patterns that is found in certain countries. Okay, so you took take those rules, and those rules are actually got to be defined as canons. Have you understood this? Some common perspectives when we find in our writing, common themes, common style, okay, common phonetical expressions, so they came to be known as canons. Have you understood this, dear learners, from my
Yes.
yesterday's
Yes.
class? Because we very broadly we had discussed all those points, so I hope you have understood that. All right, now we will move to the Indian context, and if you see this particular, we'll be dealing with your block 7 probably. Let me check. Yes, this is probably block 7, the setting of the canons in Indian context, Gandhi, Nehru, and then we came to socialism. Now, students, I think this will be a bit easier for you than the British thing that you are reading, because you were not able to connect, and probably you have understood the history of Indian freedom movement properly. So this is going to help you, the learning that you had on. Just hold on, just 1 second. Okay, so what I was saying, that this canon that we have set in India, we have already got a good system of writing and interpreting English literature, right? Yes. Good evening. Somebody wished good evening in the message. I couldn't identify your name. Very much good evening. So I was telling you how canon is set in India, and now you can see in this 21st century we are already done with canon setting. Okay, our literature in my previous classes, I was telling to you that I must be you. We all must be proud that we have got that kind of literature now, which is very much read and appreciated worldwide. But how did it all start? Okay, how did it spawned? Okay, so that I'm going to tell you. So in my previous class also I told you that it started quite soon, quite early, in the early phase of the British establishment in India, by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. We have discussed it enough, but that is one book only, and then they stopped writing, those writers, then they moved to the regional writing as a sign of protest. Okay, so for some phase of the time, we had stopped writing in English. So, but after that, when Gandhi came into the scene, okay, we all know that again, he also, like Nehru, both of them said that I know we must accept our own language, because they were saying at that time that that to some extent our own regional languages were taken to the back, and we were awed, completely awestruck with those foreign language, okay, English language. So these people, they set the trend, like Nehru and Gandhi, they said that no, our own regional languages should be promoted. So it was Nehru only who initiated with Hindi as um, as our national language. He was the one who first said about this. So then what happened? Gandhi, he had come from England. Nehru also was very good, very well versed with English. He belonged to an elite Pandit family. Okay, so again, what these people did, Gandhi and Nehru, they they simultaneously connected themselves with regional language and English language also. All right. So these two people, if I have told you in my earlier classes also, they were very well versed, very much well aware with all the vocabulary, the styles of English language, both of them. Okay. So at that time, what was happening? If you remember that during our early phase of British establishment in our country, our fight was not that. What do you say? Not that hardcore fight. We did not fight. We had only discussions with regard to our idealisms. Okay, and we people were very very patient, very much tolerant about their exploitations. Uh, that was the initial phase. But people like Gandhi and Nehru, when they came to the picture, they were the ones who speeded up this whole process. Okay, and if you talk about Gandhi, Gandhi went place to place. He traveled from place to place in India, first of all, sensitizing people. Now, remember that Gandhi was always towards passive resistance. He was towards non-violence. So he didn't say that go and give tight slaps to British and throw them out. No, he didn't say that. He said, first you understand your faults. Okay, we Indians, our cultures are a lot of problematic things we have in our culture. We are not equal. This is what we were discussing in our previous classes. Also, even Bankim Chandra also felt the same. He also said Raja Ram Mohan Roy felt the same. And Gandhi, what he did, he connected to people. He went places of different parts of India. He held meetings, in the form of social services, and then he explained people that leave about those aliens who have come to our country. First, you change yourselves. You try to change your thoughts, your mentalities. You people are so behind, because at this time Gandhi has already come from England, finishing his barrister course. At this time, he has already come back from South Africa. Okay, South Africa was another one of the biggest colonies and the worstly treated colonies of British people. Okay, so now he saw something from African domination also, oppression also, that we have to organize ourselves. Okay, and resisting doesn't always mean fighting and being violent. So he says that first, if you want yourself to be rid from their rule, first you organize yourself, you discipline yourself. Okay, there are so many things which is lacking within you. You don't have equality. You don't join hand in hand. You have caste discrimination. You have feudal system. You have that rich and poor kind of feelings you have in your mind. So if so, you have so much of discrimination in your mind, how will you free yourself? So first, forget all those things, join your hands, and then resist. And resist should be passive. That is a different thing. So when he created this sensitization, initially I told you know that if you see that we have discussed already that novel was that Ram Rajmohan's wife. We already saw that it had got certain soft features, romantic ideas. Okay, so especially talked about a woman and her, and her adjustments within society. Okay, but now our writings got broader through the inspiration of Gandhi's speeches. Through Gandhi's words, we got the idea that now we have to move away from that romanticism and romantic influences of British literature. See, this is another important point which created the bulk of Indian writing in English. The theme, okay, the theme creation was from here. So the Indians through Gandhi, they understood that we have to write. Okay, even regional writings were too much romantic. Okay, by romantic I mean they were influenced by the Western counterpart of their what they call romantic age. Okay, so now what happened? Now our Indians, even though who wrote in our regional languages, they understood that we have to now stop discussing about all those romantic things, hmm, uh, about different issues. But now we have to concentrate on the socialist themes. Okay, socialist theme means now we have to focus upon whatever is going on within our country that needs to be changed, that needs to be modified, that many old rituals and traditions have to be taken back. Okay, now people understood this, that our theme should be very much on social issues. Okay, so this was initially started. Writers started writing. Even Gandhi in his many of his writings projected many socialist issues. Okay, he spoke against caste system. He spoke against dowry system. He talked about equality. Okay, after this socialist awareness came. All right, and this was the role of our literature in the freedom movement, that we created awareness. We made people understand through our literature what are the flaws in our society that needs to be checked first. So we directed the whole mass to certain point of view, to certain perspective that needed reworking within us in our societies. We created that sensitization, and then our literature changed to resistance, to our wish for independence, to our goals of freedom, to how to resist from the Western counterpart. They are so powerful. So this all changes came gradually. So students, tell me, is my voice breaking? Somebody said my voice is breaking.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, then maybe it's a problem with your network if you're feeling that my voice is breaking. Um, okay, so in a nutshell, I told you about the whole block, whatever it contains. Okay, how we became. socially aware. First of all, these leaders, Gandhi and Nehru, they made us aware about our flaws, to correct our problems, and then to go and resist in whatever method we want to fight against the British. So the initial thing that we needed was to correct ourselves morally, to correct ourselves socially, okay, to bring equality in our country, so that hand in hand we'll fight. No, if one is supporting, other is saying I am your enemy, why should I support you? So this will make our cause weak. So we should have a common cause. We should try to overcome this suppression by joining hands together, irrespective of caste, irrespective of class, irrespective of religion at that time, whatever religion existed. So this is how gradually we evolved as modern Indians. Okay, and it did happen. They said our Indians tried, they joined hand in hand. Okay, and when our literature is concerned, it did happen. They created awareness and people understood. Okay, and we became very much sensitive about our own societies. We understood the problems of our societies. Okay, and so that kind of feudal system or the inequality that persisted slowly went away, and slowly we started resisting in our own ways. So as we are people of literature, we will see how literature and literary people. Okay. And also, we should be proud that people like Gandhi and Nehru, they also produce pieces of literature in order to, in order to address the cause. So this was also a kind of resistance when our literary people did through their literature, through their writing. They were able to, move the whole age-old system that was going on in our country. Okay, now we will see how this canon setting was done. So I already told you that this canon setting was initially started by Gandhi. Okay, Gandhi started a canon of Indian literature. Okay, and he very clearly stated that our bulk of literature should be very much focused to the socialist point of view. We have to write according to our society. We have to write how our society works, how the machinery of our society works. Okay, and what kind of changes do we need? That kind of initiation or setting up of canon was done by Gandhi. He made us aware. Okay, so uh, and Gandhi, uh, touched people, and he took a lot of side towards the peasant class, the farmer class. Okay, so at that time, much of the much of our population was peasant population, was farmer population. Okay, so the bulk of the population was peasant population. So Gandhi thought it very relevant to first sensitize to or to address the peasants and their issues. Okay, and it was Gandhi only who had said that it is that India lives mostly in villages. Okay, so this was the first truth that we got to understand at that time, that we are actually farmers. Most of us are farmers. Okay, so our cases should be addressed first. All right. So also, farmer did not mean at that time we were poor farmers. Okay, our farmers were very rich. Okay, they formed the major part of our economic group. All right, and but still, to some extent, our farmers were subjected uh, to oppression by the upper class people, by the landowners also. Okay, so these things and this kind of hierarchy persisted, and farmers were unfortunately kept at the bottom of this hierarchy. Hierarchy means steps. Okay, the lower person, then little bit better than him, then that little bit, that is hierarchy, the differences. Okay, so hierarchy and feudal system, as I was telling you, it was very rampant at that time. Okay, and if you see, the farmers were completely weighed down because they had to give too much of taxes also to the um, to the landlords. Okay, and they saw that they have no future if they are being treated like this. They have to suffer a lot. They have to toil in the fields. Okay, their extract was taken away by the landlords in the name of loans. Okay, so Gandhi here first of all says you have to it addresses the farmers first, and he says that you have to resist from the core. Later you have that British to fight with, but now you are struggle against your own people. So Gandhi first gave the call, okay, and to the farmers, and he said that you have to now stand stand for your rights. Okay, so slowly farmers gain confidence. Okay, and then gradually, when farmers got a little confident about their power of resistance, they joined the freedom movement along with other leaders. Okay, so this was how India's politics got evolved. And here, if you say, uh, if the canon was set at this time, the canon was mostly set by Gandhi, and he spoke about the simplest people on earth. Okay, he talked about, he addressed, he gained the confidence of the farmers initially. Okay, so this is how India's struggle for independence started, and Gandhi actually addressed with the ordinary masses first. Okay, so actually, Gandhi at that time had initiated his fight, and this fight was actually against British. Okay, so in this way, he sensitized the farmers, okay, who gradually came and supported the cause of independence. So many critics at that time, they understood that this kind of this kind of social activism which is being done by Gandhi is the resistance against British, the colonial imperialism. Because again, these farmers would understand that this is again, they have to fight greater wars. Okay, not only now with the people of their country, but the intruders. Okay, who have come to the country. Now Gandhi completely sensitized, and he was able to move the ordinary people. Okay, so he wanted people, the common people, to understand what they have to do, which battle they have to fight. Okay, and he also showed, not only this, he also showed the possibilities, the ways, the means in order to fight. For whom? For common mass. Okay, because most of our population was common mass. We were common people. Okay, so he involved common people in the struggle. And then what happened? Another issue, or you can say another movement that took place here was the Reform Act. Okay, the Reform Act movement. Now, here, when this Reform Act movement was initiated, there was double response by the people. Okay, now Gandhi was a great strategist. Okay, now he knew that uh, if you want political support, then you have to move uh, the common people, the mass. Okay, so the Congress identified this mass. Okay, he was a part of the Congress, and he identified that if he could get support, that will be through Congress. Okay, but he has to work strongly, and he has to work very sincerely in this area. Okay, if he really wants something, yes, so some development in this protest against British. Okay, so he knew that he has to take out, he has to, uh, you know, um, uh, think about strategies, better strategies. Okay, and thinking about new strategies, new policies was not an easy task at that time. Okay, uh, because at that time, uh, some kind of resistance was also starting. because here it says that after World War One, okay, after World War One, there was no, what do you say, violence, or there was no radical movement. Okay, and Gandhi here, he's addressing the young mass. Okay, the young mass, common mass, but the younger people here, through in his Young India, in his book called Young India. What he says here: the Reform Act, coupled with the proclamation, is an earnest intention of the British people to do justice to India, and it ought to remove suspicion on that score. See, he's saying that the reason for the British to introduce Reform Act is to give justice to Indian people. Our duty, therefore, is not to subject the reforms to carping criticism, but to settle down quietly, to work so as to make them a success. Okay, so here he said that people resented when Reform Act was introduced, and Gandhiji said that don't no need to resent. Okay, slowly accept it, and the British here doesn't seem to have any ill intention. Okay, but here there were criticisms for Gandhiji as well. Okay, the critics said that how could Gandhiji settle down so silently? Okay, and why does he didn't say anything against the British policies? And then they said that British were changing their ideas. Okay, after World War One, and when after World War One, protest should have been started. Okay, and freedom movement should have persisted from then onwards, but Gandhiji is saying to be silent, to be quiet. So why did he do that? That was also criticized at that time. Okay, but what Gandhi says from the point of view of Gandhi, just a second. Yeah, so what Gandhi says is that now, before we start any protest, we need to think about our own country. We have to bring justice to our own country first, and then we should go for others. So he says that there are two problems: one is for untouchables and other is for women. Okay, and these two, untouchability and discrimination with women, comes from the lower class of the society, from the peasant class. Peasants are too vulnerable with these two issues of untouchability and of gender discrimination. So he says that now at this time it is very difficult to connect the whole issue of farmers on one side, and on the other side to talk about untouchables and women. Okay, because these three were the receiving ends, means they were the most oppressed classes. So after this reform movement was passed, he understood that now not only peasants but also women and untouchables are too vulnerable. Okay, so uh, now, again, when he talked to the peasants, again, he addressed these issues. So he says that first, those who are economically deprived, they are the people who are thrown out of the society. Okay. Now, society doesn't mean that they're thrown out of their houses. No, they are sided off. Okay. Nobody bothers them. So I think you have known that he named the so-called untouchables as Harijans. Okay, the people of Lord Krishna. He said that they're the simple people. Okay, so he says that these people are more vulnerable. So first we have to build the machinery of our country, and then we can go for the bigger resistance. And that is why he said that for present time we have to keep quiet. Okay, because first we have to strengthen ourselves, we have to empower ourselves, and then go for any sort of resistance. Okay, so you can see that Gandhi had got a very modern mind. Okay, he was a modern thinker uh, to address such issues, because these issues were not much addressed during those days. So he was a very modern minded person. Okay, and actually he had lived many years in Europe, and then he understood another colonial country, colonialized country Africa. He has understood that properly. So now he has understood which way the struggle for independence should go. Okay. First of all, the evil that our society has created has to be stopped. Okay. So uh, yes. So, by a lot of reading, by a lot of interaction with European as well as African people, uh, uh, he swore, he made people promise that first of all, you have to take care of equality and justice. Then you can go. So, this awareness was not there. It is a very common thing for us nowadays, but this kind of awareness was not there at that time, which was initiated by Mahatma Gandhi. Okay. So he made people swear that you have to do things in order to bring equality among yourselves. Okay. Uh, and another thing you must have seen, that Gandhi was, very much, he took a lot of help from the so-called untouchables and women during freedom struggle, because he thought that power comes from the most segregated sections of the society. The real power comes from the segregated sections of the society. So that is why Gandhi took a lot of help from these people, from the lowest section of the time, lowest section of the society. Okay. So um, this was how the making of the canon was evolving at that time. Okay. Now what happened? uh, Gandhi, as we see that he's becoming now very active politically, and what he's doing, such a weak, thin, and frail man, we cannot expect him to fight or give a blow to the faces of British people. No, he fought with his ideology, with his perspective. Okay, and he continued with his fight by sensitizing people, by involving people in political process. He brought in more and more people, more and more crowd into the whole political frame of our country. Okay. So and Gandhi always gave power to the backward sections of the society. He gave confidence to them. He said that you are the ones who are the actual fighters. Okay. And to the other classes of the society, he said that you question yourself. Okay, you ask yourself what you are doing through this kind of discrimination, where you are putting your country into. Okay, so he forced people to question themselves. So Gandhi, you can see that he had a very rational approach. Okay, and not only rational, but he had a very human approach. When women or low caste people, when they are not treated properly, that is so inhuman. Okay, not only it disempowers them, but it is not human to treat people like that. So Gandhi, you can say he was a modern thinker. He was a rationalist. You can say he was a humanist also. Okay, so when he started speaking, so you can say that he became direct enemy to the blind, or what we call superstitions, to the people who were too superstitious, where a lot of what we say andvishwas was going on. He was the direct enemy to attack them. Okay. And British people, do you think that British people thought him to be his friend? No, they understood his strategies. So he was an enemy to all these black traditions of India. He was also an enemy which was already felt by British people, that Gandhi is not a friend, he is an enemy. Okay, now through this way, they were very clever to understand. He was sensitizing his people. Okay, so you can see that politically one kind of homogeneity was brought, one equilibrium was brought to a large extent. Okay, unity was now coming, people were now getting committed. Okay, people now got some vision, some common vision to fight for. This was all brought by Gandhi and his continuous effort to move around the country and touch people, to hold meetings, to explain them, to make them understand. Okay, so see how Gandhi's simple thinking brought such big changes. Okay, he thought simply only. This is not a big thing. Simple thought. If you are a simple person, okay, if you are a low class person, then you are the strongest person. See, such kind of empowerment was given. You will be the biggest fighter for the cause of the nation. So he developed confidence within every class of our society. Okay, so this was the definition of nationalism for Gandhi that constituted Indian National Congress. Okay, so you can say that Indian National Congress was at that time based on rationalism, based on humanity, okay, by the commitment of the great leaders. Excuse me. Okay, so people very quickly, very fast, they got inspired by Gandhi. All right, and uh, uh, British started feeling, feeling threatened by Gandhi and his views. So, excuse me. So this was the idea of modernism according to Gandhi. And this was a setting of a canon in itself where you see many writers, Premchand, Raja Rao, that Kantapura also, you will see that writers were now getting sensitized with the socialist issues. Okay, so here you see Gandhi as one of the most pioneering figure in the setting up of canon. He gave issues, he gave certain ideas, he set the norms not only for our society but also for our literature. Now we, our writers understood that in this perspective they have to write. If you want to people to get, sensitized about these social affairs, then we have to write in these areas, in these topics, okay, about our own social issues. All right, now, now let me move on. Uh, now, we already know, and thousands of time we have been repeating the same thing, that Gandhi has got a lot of contribution in, bringing politics to the masses. Okay, you must write this in your answer when you're writing about Gandhi. About his passive resistance, all those things are there, but you have to say that he brought politics to the common mass and to the working class society. Okay. uh, and he was so clever that British people were also very confused that what Gandhi is doing. Okay, so Gandhi says that okay, you can resist British, but it would be possible when only when you become rational. Okay, when you become irrational, when you become wild, when you become like butchers, then everything you will lose. You have to discard all the things that is no more helpful for you. You have to accept what is there towards your development, that you have to accept. So you can see that though he was not radical, okay, he was very subservient, but his ideas quickly, moved people and their hearts. All right, people were very much and very quick to understand his point of view. Okay, and this is how, by talking about so many issues, he set up a trend, a canon. Okay, am I clear with Gandhi? Students, are you clear with Gandhi
Yes,
and his
ma'am. Yes.
attempt at trend setting? He said very common things. Okay, very, very simple things. All right. Okay, now we will move on to Nehru. we can see Nehru and his ideas. Okay, what he did, how was he able to make people understand, and how he was able to set a trend and set a canon for the Indian literary arena. Okay, now Gandhi represented common mass. Okay, and Nehru, you can say, had a great future prediction. Okay, Nehru had a great future prediction, and now what happens in case of Nehru? What he does here, that we will see. Now, to a large extent, Nehru's view was somewhat similar to Gandhi. Okay, when rationality is concerned, okay, Nehru is very close to Gandhi. Excuse me. Okay, now what you see that Gandhi was thought about secularism. Gandhi expressed modernism. Gandhi was a mystic also. Okay, so what are the characteristic features of Nehru? Nehru was very rational. Okay, he whatever case he took up, he used to analyze it. He used to investigate whatever was happening. So he was a good analyzer, and he investigated every matter that came to him. So you may call Gandhi as secular, as modern, as a mystic. But Nehru was rational. Okay, he had a tendency to analyze and investigate things. So Nehru again, continued to say what Gandhi had said. He also talked about, avoiding caste, creed, and Nehru talked about taking initiatives to bring in equality and justice. So, Nehru had got a lot of individualistic ideas. So, uh, for Nehru, actually, socialism actually depends on individual thoughts. Okay, he says that for a socialist thinking, you need to have your individual thinking. You need to be very conscious about what you are thinking about socialism. You have to be very conscious about society. Okay, now you can see here Nehru along with Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay, Nehru and Bose together, they became, they were contemporary, and they became a very powerful structures of national movement. Okay, and immediately Nehru and Subhash Bose both, they got the attention of urban people, they got the attention of semi-urban people. Okay, you see, just see, mark this. When Gandhi attracted the attention of the common mass of the village dwellers, on the other hand, Nehru and Subhash Bose, they quickly grabbed the attention of urban class society and semi-urban, like towns, people who lived in towns. So people who lived in cities and towns quickly got attracted by the ideologies of resistance of Nehru and Subhash Bose. Okay. Now, after World War One, both of them, Bose and Nehru, they expressed a lot of discontent against British regime. Okay, and they showed a very active discontent and intolerance towards British. And in the meetings that they held, public meetings, they talked very openly, vocally about the freedom of speech. Okay, they sensitized, especially middle class people and those educated people, that you should use your freedom of speech. You are free to speak your heart. Suppose somebody is torturing you, somebody is being very intolerant towards you, okay, somebody is being violent to you, then You should be independent enough to speak out. Please, you have to add this in your answers. Be careful. Okay, be careful with these points. You can, if you are not able to find where I'm teaching, then you just write the keywords that Nehru and Subhash Bose, they actively spoke about freedom of speech and they sensitized the middle class educated youth. This is important. Okay, so you must have read a novel, E.M. Foster's novel Passage to India. If you have read that Passage to India, you will find what Nehru had actually said about the educated people, how they should react, how they should behave in this colonial dominated country. Okay, Passage to India by E.M. Foster. You will find what Nehru had said has, is an example of the canon that you find in a way of story in Passage to India. So again, you can see that Nehru is also a canon setter. Okay, when he talks about the educated mass who should utilize the freedom of speech. Okay, you find him again setting a canon for India, for Indian people who were very patient, who were very tolerant. Okay, what Nehru said is that you have to create your voice, you have to speak out. If your condition is not good, then just say, because you have full freedom to speak your heart. Okay, there is no problem at all when you speak what you have in your heart. You have your full freedom of expression. You have to say. Okay, so you see that Nehru brings in new ideas to our educated mass. Okay, and Gandhi actually he oriented, he brought again a broader mass along with the Gandhian mass. There were people who were influenced by Gandhi. Now Nehru brought certain other population of our section, okay, who joined the movement. So Nehru and Gandhi, they brought big mass of people. You can see from mainly from lower class, from middle class educated people. Okay, they attracted all these people to form the national movement. Could you understand this much, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay, very good. So this is how they only two leaders gathered a lot of mass. Okay, so now the whole of India got mixed up as far as national movement was concerned. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're poor, it doesn't matter if you belong to a low caste. Okay, so this brought a very great, what you call, great um, churning up of different social groups. Okay, so this is what was socialism in our freedom struggle. Okay, so socialism, through socialism, we saw that our educated youth, okay, much of our educated youth, those who really understood the importance of freedom movement. So these youth, new youth came to our group of freedom fighters. They brought in many new ideas. Okay, new ideas to resist, to fight. Okay, they brought ideas how to control economic resources. Okay, how to, how to not get um, harassed by the British as far as our economy is concerned. So this new mass of youth, those who were pouring into our group started by Gandhi and Nehru, they brought new ideas also. Okay, so this new kind of social movement started, uh, started getting absorbed throughout India and India's population. Okay, so this kind of new socialism brought in awareness. Okay, and when this awareness was brought, Indian industrialists, Indian land owning classes, all of them gradually joined hands. Okay, so we all joined hands. We now started thinking of equality, no poor, no rich. Now we started to think equally and to fight together, joining our hands, fight and keep the British power away from us. Their violence will not be tolerated anymore by us. So this is how gradually the sensitization process was started by Gandhi and then carried on by Nehru. So you can say it was the idealism of Gandhi and socialism of Nehru. They got linked together because Gandhi was very idealistic, as I was telling you. So Gandhi's idealism and Nehru's socialism, they joined forces. Okay, both of them joined forces and gradually through different modes we revolted against our domination, and finally we got free and Nehru became the first prime minister of India. Okay, now you saw that these two different cannons were set. All right, now sometimes these two cannons, the idealistic cannons and the socialistic cannons, were mixed up. Okay, in our political activism and also in our literature. Now we will see how they got mixed up, how they got churned up. Okay, so Gandhi, was very much vocal about non-violence. Okay, and Nehru said that no, whatever may be the means, but we have to reject imperialism. Gandhi said that whatever will happen, but we will not create violence. Okay. Nehru, on the other hand, being a socialist, he says that anyhow we have to reject imperialism. Okay. So we can see what is happening here. Two different points of view. One is idealism versus socialism. Okay. Now, but whatever both you can see at that time, Gandhi and Nehru, they were the most eminent figures of Indian national movement in those days. Okay, so constantly they held meetings, they held rallies. Okay, they tried to now sensitize people directly. Now, when they saw that people have joined forces, okay, Indians are gradually coming together. Now, what they did, now they started moving around the country, holding rallies, holding meetings. Now they made people aware of the British domination. Okay, so that is why now British sees that they are directly talking about us. Okay, so what happened continuously from then onwards, both Nehru and Gandhi, they were going into jail, they were coming out of jail. Okay, so constantly they were going and coming out of jail. They were again and again jailed by British. But even Nehru said that we want freedom from imperial power, but he was not that violent. He was not a violent kind of man. But what he did, he held meetings. He made direct awareness among people. So this was not liked by British. They continuously jailed him. Okay. So this was how political activism was initiated by these two great leaders of India, and see how gradually the conflict started. People understood this. People understood the message. Okay. But there was another problem. People felt that these people are so violent. British domination is so violent. We won't be able to win our cause through non-violence. Okay, peacefully we won't be able to throw these people out. Okay, but Gandhi always stayed stuck to his doctrine of peace and harmony. Okay, and Nehru, actually, as I told you, he was a visionary. He always asked people to think about equality. Okay, but Nehru did not say directly anything about violence or fighting or hitting. No, he did not say anything directly about that. Okay, so actually, both Gandhi and Nehru, they talked about dignity and integrity of the country. They said that our country is a very dignified country. Okay, it's such an old traditional country. Okay, and we have great history of our country, and our history is based on dignity and integrity. both said this one thing. Okay, see how their political ideas mixed up. So both of them said that, though one spoke a lot about freedom of speech and all those things, and another person talked a lot about nonviolence, but both of them said one thing that was equal, that our country has got a lot of dignity and integrity. We are not going to lose this. So they addressed the people of India and said that we can do anything, any kind of protest we can form, but first we should take care of our country, and we should not let our country lose its dignity and integrity. Both of them were very much concerned with the dignity and integrity of the country, and that was really very important. Okay, they did whatever they liked. Okay, so they did not do dignified things. Who? British, their rule. But Nehru and Gandhi said that whatever they did is about them. Let us not lose our dignity and integrity in the name of protest. We should preserve that. Okay, but was that possible? Okay, how to maintain this dignity and integrity? So the friction started. There were many freedom fighters came up who could not maintain that dignity and integrity because they had to fight. Those people had to be treated violently. This was understood by one group of people. Okay, and such kind of friction started. Then Gandhi and Nehru also, their ideology, which at some point of time was going good, now they also got parted. Okay, they got separated. One stuck very badly to passive resistance. Okay, uh, and another going little farther and talking very vocally about our rights. Okay, and the visions that Nehru had for India. So though both of them, they talked about the political situations of India from the very root level, from the very grassroots. They spoke about the problem, the political situation of India. Okay, they also pointed out some issues and problems of the country, but to some extent, both of their views little bit they got distracted. Okay. Anyhow, they continued with their ideas. Okay. Okay. Now what happens? Yeah. Now what happens? Now, as far as Gandhi's idealism was concerned, that was a bit disturbed for some point of time. Okay, because there were many political leaders. There were too many middle class, intelligentsia group. They got little bit disturbed and distracted about the notions of nationalism, harmony. Okay, when they were being ruled by an alien power. Okay, so their ideas regarding nationalism and harmony got little distracted. Okay, and uh, now to some extent, these middle class people and some a few political leaders belonging to this middle class, uh, they sought for help from Gandhi's idea of socialism. Okay, uh, they wanted these people, middle class people, they wanted Gandhi's socialist ideas to help the lower class people. Okay, because what was happening at that time, that these lower class people, they had problem with not only bread, shelter, but they had problem with education also. Okay, so if they have not properly educated, when one class of people was not properly educated, then how can they understand the value of independence? How can they fight against British? So this problem was brought to Gandhi, and Some of his socialist ideas were sought after to address the issue of the deprivation of lower class people. Still, they were, lagging. And if they are lagging, how could they join hands? This was the problem brought in by some political leaders. So, what did Gandhi do? How did Gandhi react to this problem? Now, Gandhi said that there is a capitalistic class in our country. The landowners, they hold the most part of the economy. Okay, so these landowners, they should behave like a trustee. Okay, trustee of the national wealth. Okay, they should be the trustee because they are very rich people. They'll be the trustee of the natural wealth and natural resources. Okay, and they should be very much ethical. They should be very much moral in order to use the national wealth equally, or maybe a little bit more towards the deprived classes. So Gandhi said that those who have properties, Indian people, those who have lands, those who have lot of properties, okay, they should play the role of reformers. They should try to bring change. Okay, and they should, when they are very much economically well off, they should help the poor class financially. Instead of becoming very rigid with the farmers, the landowners now have to be little generous towards them, so that the farmers could also rise in the hierarchy of class. Okay, but many Indians did not like this idea. What kind of idea is this? And how property owners in India, uh, you know, uh, could help others. So this was little troubled idea of Gandhi. But Gandhi said that this is the social role that you have to play. If you are trying to bring in change in society, then the elite class, okay, they are the privileged class. Okay, and the one who is not an elite is a disadvantaged class. So this is inequality. You have to help each other and bring that equilibrium. So or at least you have to educate who are not educated. So according to Gandhi, he said that little responsibility of reformation should be taken up by the elite class of the society. At least they should try to sensitize the lower class people by educating them and trying to help them with the meager means of existence. Little bit of help should be provided by the elite class. Okay. Now, this was a very practical idea that he gave, and to a large extent, people followed what Gandhi said. Okay. Now, moving on to Nehru. Nehru also had different contributions, policy plannings for our country, and Nehru actually was very realistic in his approach. Okay, and now, Nehru talked a lot about, as Nehru was a very highly educated person living in a very elite family. He talked a lot about civic rights, as I told you, about speeches, and Indians should hold more and more meetings to make all the Indians aware of the British dominations. Okay, now in his meetings and in his speeches, he was able to create that kind of sensitization. So this was the two different methods. One was idealistic, another was socialistic, by Gandhi and Nehru in order to fight against British imperialism. All right. So this is how the canons were set, and these ideas actually of Nehru and Gandhi respectively, that was absorbed in our literature. And the best example, as I told you, if you read E.M. Foster's Passage to India, you will see how Nehru's ideas are being used practically in the novel Passage to India. Okay, now you see that this Indian national movement was headed by Gandhi and Nehru after the end of World War I. Okay, and Gandhi and Nehru brought in a lot of excitement for the people, because Gandhi and Nehru both did a lot in order to make India a homogeneous group. Okay, which it was not, and to a large extent they were able to do so. Okay, and they worked very hard towards bringing the whole of India together. So now Gandhi and Nehru both propagated idealistic life. They both propagated honesty. They both propagated simplicity. Okay, self-respect, dignity, integrity. So they spoke a lot about our moral values also, apart from different ways and methods of fighting against British imperialism. Okay, now we'll go to different writers. I have already discussed a little bit on Premchand and Mulkraj Anand, Raja Rao. Okay, how they uh, initiated their resistance, how they formulated new canons for literature, and the most prominent among them is Gan- uh, 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 is Tagore. Okay, now we will see how gradually our Indian canons were further set by certain many writers, literary writers. Okay, and simultaneously when this Indian national movement was going on, simultaneously our Indian literary people were writing. Okay, and they were setting certain canons of our Indian writing in English that included socialist ideas, that included Gandhian ideas of idealism, that included Nehruvian idea of socialism. Okay, and also slowly we started to talk about modernism as well. Okay, so you can say that now Indian English is very much centered around India. It was centered around now our culture. Okay, with slowly this was that was not no more English centered. It became Indian centered gradually. Okay, and now recently, if you see writers, Amitabh Ghosh, as I was telling you, Vikram Seth, now it is completely in the Indian hands. Okay, and we see that how completely we have moved on with those typical pre-colonial ideology to the post-colonial ideology. We have shifted. Okay, so the canons have also shifted, but what Vikram said or Amitabh Ghosh are writing, the base, their base is actually set by writers like Tagore, writers like Mulkraj Anand. So they form the bedrock, and now we are developing on those ideas. Okay. Now we will have a broad discussion of Tagore, Premchand, Raja Rao, Mulkraj Anand. Okay, I have discussed this few things in our initial classes. We'll go a little bit more broader description of these two, three, four writers. Now, if you see Tagore, if you read Tagore, you will find a lot of modern aspects. Okay, uh, because you will see that he talks, his writing style is quite modern because he talks about the modern life completely entrapped within itself. Okay, and Tagore is also questioning the social conditions of his time, and he is saying that if there are questions we have in our time, in his contemporary time, then the youth must try to find out answers to some problems also. So you can see that Tagore started a kind of style, a trend. He was a highly imaginary writer. Okay, and apart from his romantic side, you can see Tagore writing against the oppressive British rule also. All right. So Tagore, in some sense, you can say that he was very active and he was very radical as a thinker. Okay. And Tagore, you see, that did not have much traditional ways of writing literature. Okay. Whereas Tagore, tried to experiment with new areas, with new life, with new culture. Okay. So you can see that when Tagore came to the scene, then the whole aspect of writing, particularly poetry, you can say, changed, and he wrote a lot of short stories also. So change. He talked a lot about moral values. He talked about love. Okay, he talked about many secular issues also. He talked about deprivation also. Okay, so his theme became very much varied, but above all, you can say that above all, I mean, beside the fact that he had a lot of romantic aspirations also, but above all, you can say Tagore was a great socialist as far as his writing was concerned. Okay, and in many of his writings, you will see him depicting Indians as heroes. Okay, fighting all odds. So Tagore brought a fresh air of literature, of socialism through his literature. Okay. Now, Tagore's very popular work is Ghore Bahire, that was later translated in English, The Home and the World. This is a novel, all right. And this novel has got, one second. Yeah, this novel has got three characters, Bimla, Nikhil, and Sandeep. Okay, they are the central character in this novel. It mainly talks about these three people, Bimla, Nikhil, and Sandeep. Okay, and I think this is a kind of love triangle. But here it says that this is not a kind of romantic love triangle. Tagore here introduces Bimla as a very ordinary looking woman. Quite the contrary, you see Indian writers writing about their protagonist as beautiful, ravishing, but here Tagore doesn't do all that sort of romanticism. He talks about Bimla as a very ordinary looking woman, and Bimla is married to Nikhil. Okay, and Bimla and Nikhil, they share their domestic life, and Bimla was quite satisfied with her family life, and she's very loyal to her husband and to her family, and she finds herself very lucky to be here. And Tagore actually, keeps Bimla as the, as the center of the whole novel, and Tagore takes us to the very quickly in his novel. He takes up to the main problem of the novel. Okay, and Bimla actually stands for a common woman in India who lives in confinements of home. Okay, she lives in a very small limit of her house, of her domestic chores. Okay, and this lady has nothing to do with the idol, to the outer world. Okay, so we can imagine the family, the kind of life our grandmothers, our mothers lived. Okay, very much confined to their homes. So, this is a very common picture of India and the representation of women in India. So, Tagore here is actually questioning the role of woman. Okay, and what should be her attitude towards her family. Okay, and the way Tagore questions the role of woman in the family actually takes us away from the orthodox and traditional view of a big joint family, and Tagore takes up a question of a modernized lifestyle. So, this particular novel, The Home and the World, Tagore here seeks to redefine woman. Okay, the home, a woman should not be just confined to a home or just husband wife relationship. Okay, the woman here has to be considered as a political world. Okay, this this arena of politics is very much confined to only males. But Tagore says that no, women should also be suggested as a political word. So this brings us to the setting of the canon to what Gandhi has said. When Gandhi had spoken, no, as I was telling you, Gandhi said that low class people and women, they are completely deprived. So here, through the theme, through the story, same thing Tagore is saying is setting canon of what initially Gandhi has said. He is talking about women and their rights. Okay, they are not mere people who should live and die within domestic walls. They should explore the outer world, especially the political scenario. Okay, so actually through this, Tagore is trying to sensitize each and every subjugated class of the society, that everyone should come, everyone should take their fight against independence. So it might be their fight against British domination, or it might be a fight against patriarchal domination. So there should be a kind of activism, according to Tagore. They should come out and they should fight their own war. Okay, so after this, we'll move on to Premchand. Now, as I told you, uh, Premchand was very well versed in English. Okay, he could have written great writings in English, but usually Premchand chose to write in Hindi. Okay, he rejected the language of the colonizers. So we consider Premchand as one of the eminent figures of Indian literature. Okay, and he wrote at the time when there were very few modern writers. Okay, in India. So Premchand had a typical style. He was, he experimented with Indian religious myths. He talked about his stories were related to folk tales. Okay, and when before upheaval also, Premchand wrote certain writings which were very much Indian in their context. And then when the upheaval started, Premchand, he shifted his perspectives of writing story into secular themes. Okay, and he usually chose fiction, and you must have read also. He wrote a number of short stories as well. Okay, and we are able to connect till today. We are able to connect Premchand and his stories to our real life at different levels. Okay, and for Premchand, actually, he writes short stories, he writes novels. Actually, through his novels and short stories, he's trying to explain, okay, he's trying to dramatize certain events of life, certain important events of life. Okay, and he has got a very sensitive way of expression. He has a very good way of letting out his imagination. So in his very sensitive style, uh, he talks about the actual happenings in our society. He talks about the issues that is very commonly happening in our society. So uh, where I was, yes, so when Premchand is talking about certain basic aspects of society, he chooses a basic language. Okay, and that the basic language commonly spoken by everyone, so that people will be able to connect with the storyline, with the point of view of Premchand. So with his choice of language, particularly learners, he could connect people in the area of culture, in society, in politics. People were able to connect his stories. Okay, and the storyline, the theme that he had, people were able to understand it, and that was mainly because of the choice of his language. Okay, and language for him was a means to express his thoughts, his ideologies, and people were able to understand his expressions. Okay, So Premchand, this is important for you. You must remember he initially started with Urdu. Okay, because he thought that that is the best means to interact with people in Urdu. Okay, but later what he did, he switched over to Hindi. Okay, after a lot of writing in Urdu, he now switched over to Hindi. So he was not only well versed with English, but Urdu and Hindi also. So now he thought that when he should take up Hindi, because at that time Hindi language was struggling. Okay. Uh, in Hindi, he thought that Hindi should emerge as one of the important languages of India in order to define the cultural scenario of the time. So he started to write in Hindi. Hindi has to be understood. Okay. So that is why he started writing in Hindi, and you can see that he was successful also in his idea of bringing Hindi to the forefront, because now, whenever till today, when we are talking about Hindi literature, name of Premchand comes to the forefront, isn't it? Premchand, you can see that he, through his stories, particularly in Hindi, you will find he is directly talking to the readers. Okay, he's sharing his point of view about India at that time. He talks about the political conditions of India at that time. So you will feel that he's face to face with the readers, and the discussion is mutual between the readers and the author. Okay, so through his Hindi particularly, he was able to connect with the people. Okay, so there were many writings of Premchand, like Panch Parmeshwar. This was published in 1916. Okay, now Panch Parmeshwar actually showed the plight of one widow, helpless widow, and how she is being treated by her ungrateful nephew, and how village community people are treating her. Okay, so you can find, just like Tagore, Prem Chand also, he's trying to give sensitization to the people, okay, about the subjugated classes of the society, like widows, a woman. And if you read his Godan is very famous. We have got the translation also. It's a lovely novel. The Godan means gift of cow. Go means guy, cow. Okay, Godan. Dan means gift. So the gift of cow. It's an excellent writing by Premchand. Okay, it is translated and now it has been circulated worldwide. Okay, so this is one of the very famous work by Premchand. And in Godan, the protagonist is Hari, and this protagonist is very badly exploited. Uh, okay, by the prevailing economic and social system. Okay, he is exploited. He is mistreated. Uh, okay, because Hari stands at the caste ridden society, where caste discrimination was very rampant. He belonged to that tribe, and and Hari was a very innocent and simple minded fellow. That is why he was quite mistreated by his master. Okay. Now, when he is badly treated, he thinks that does he have to come out of that situation, or that is a part of life, because he is the most oppressed class of the society at that time. So there was a confusion within Hari, what to do, to get out or to live within that realms of subjugation. Okay, so here you can see that is by talking about caste discrimination, Premchand is creating a realistic scenario of the political attitude of that time. How people were so much concerned with caste. Okay, of that time. That was the major concern of Godan, written by Premchand. Okay, and Godan was written in 1930s. Okay, now this was the time when Gandhi was propagating all these ideas against casteism, against discrimination. So maybe again, this is a canon setting when Premchand is inspired by the ideology of Gandhi, and is representing the problems of casteism in our society through his work Godan. Okay, so again, you can see that this is the formation of a canon. that was initiated by Gandhi, and that was represented in the form of novel and writing by Premchand. Okay. Now next is Mulkraj Anand. Mulkraj Anand, used to write in English. Alright. Before independence, he used to write in English. Okay. And you can see that Mulkraj Anand is a very important and prominent figure in our Indian writing in English. Okay. Now,
Well,
Mulkraj Anand,
we have Untouchable by Mulk Anand in our course.
yes. So, what is that? Tell me. Untouchable again,
It's
isn't
the
it talking
story of
about?
Baka
Yes.
and
Yes, I know. But no, what we are discussing about canons. Okay, so what you see there, the canon or the trend that was set by Gandhi against caste system is reflected by Mulk Raj Anand, by Premchand. Couldn't you see that?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, Tagore, Nehru. So we can see E.M. Foster is very much influenced by Nehru when he writes Passage to India. Okay, so this is how the trends have been getting set in our country. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay. Yes, sir, you are very correct that we have Untouchable by Mulkraj Anand. I think that is a short story, no?
No, ma'am, novel.
Novel. Okay. Now, where I was. Yes. So, Mulkraj Anand, uh, uh, it's a kind of advanced reading of Tagore and Premchand. Okay. Now you see, Tagore and Premchand, what they did, though they were well versed with English, they rejected English. Okay. But Anand, what he does, he writes in English. Okay. But he writes as an Indian writer. He doesn't imitate from British style of writing and representation of literature. He writes like an Indian writer. Okay. He has his own voice. He has his own individuality. Okay. So though he is writing in their language, but it is completely Indianized with his own standpoint. Nothing he carries is British. Okay, that is his individual voice. Now, Mulkraj Anand also decided that he must join hands in the struggle for independence through his literature. Okay, he will send out messages from his point of view about the then socio-political causes. Okay, so Anand is very much committed as a freedom fighter, and he too has great, as we have already said, caste sensitization. That is, he has a strong social messages in his writings. Okay, so uh, so during this time when Mulkraj was writing, even you have his novel Kuli. Okay, that you'll be reading soon in this next section. Here also Kuli talks about the a certain class of society which has, which has got some socialist message. Okay, so, Mulkraj Anand, in his Kuli, he represents a life of very, very low class laborers of our country. Okay, those who do not have proper dress also to cover their bodies, they have very meager means uh, to fulfill their belly. Okay, they don't have proper shelter, they don't have security, nothing. Okay, and this is what is the was the condition of common lower class coolie or the farmer of that time. See, again he's addressing farmer. Okay, again the canon that was set by Gandhi is being represented by Anand. Okay, so here you can see that coolie, in the novel you see people are having their own lives, they have their own manner of expressing their feelings. Okay, and Anand, actually Multaz Anand in Koli, he represents very simple people, very close to earth, down to earth people, very straightforward and honest people, very simple and naive people. Okay, and they are uh, interacting in their own realms, with their own, own dogmas, with their own perspectives. They're interacting with others. So that is full of simplicity. That is full of innocence. You will find the people of the time have. Okay. Um and then it will be interesting for you to see how the problems, troubles of the laborers living in the cities represented. Okay, the labor class people, those who live in cities, and those who have to serve the upper class people. Upper class people are very insensitive, just like British people are very insensitive towards us. In the similar way, upper class people are very indifferent, they're very selfish towards the labor class people living in the city. So the whole plight of this whole story is very tragic. If you read it in detail, you will see, uh, you know, uh, what is deprivation. You will see that in great detail. Similarly, you will find Untouchable is talking about similar issues. Okay, and Untouchable here, as you can see, it talks about the caste discrimination done by the upper class people towards this lower class people. Okay, so you can see that quite intentionally. Uh, oh, just hold on, students, just 1 second. Okay, so where I was, yes. So purposefully, Anand brings on all these issues because he is addressing what Gandhi had initiated. Gandhi has showed him the path. Okay, and to these writers, they were sensitive enough to address these issues, and they knew that these ideas will be spread throughout the length and breadth of our country. And you can see that Mulkraj Anand is not at all concerned with how British will take it. Okay, he wrote and he tried to sensitize his people, irrespective of his concerns towards the reaction of the British. Okay, the next is Raja Rao. Raja Rao is full of ideology. Raja Rao, if you read, he's full of philosophy. Okay, though he writes fiction, but he is a very hardcore believer of Gandhianism. Okay, so all the Gandhian principles, he goes very close to observe all the principles of Gandhi. Okay, so his novel Kanthapura is a very poignant example of his ideas of Gandhism. Okay, and he talks about the national movement also very directly. He's talking about the Indian national movement and how people living in a village, they understand the Gandhian principles of national movement. Okay, so here you see that the protagonist of the novel Kantapura, he is very much aware of the Gandhian principles. He does not prefer violence. Okay, he wants to continue whatever may be the result, but he wants to continue his revolt. His his active participation against the rich landowners, even against rich British. He tries to face them with complete principles of Gandhi, with complete non-violence. Okay, so the whole novel revolves around the protagonist fighting his own fight with complete Gandhian principles. Okay, so you can see that all these writers, they have created the uh, voice in the Indian domain about any kind of subjugation, may it be a British subjugation, may it be class subjugation, may it be caste subjugation, gender subjugation, any kind of subjugation has been very vocally said by all these writers. Okay, so you can see almost all these writers are very much political in their intentions. Okay, they're very much political, but also you will see that these protagonists, they are individual characters. Okay, and how this individuality leads to the freedom struggle that you see in all these writings, in all these writers. Okay, So all these writers, please remember these writers, they are the ones who formed literary canons in India. Okay, they made boundaries for us. Okay, so that we move around freely in our creative worlds. So they were the ones who initiated that intellectual growth in our country as far as literature is concerned. Okay, and you can see they were rationalists, they were modernists, they were intellectuals, they were humanists. Okay, and they were nationalists, they were socialists in their causes. Okay, so all these writers and their writings are very much human centered, and not only before independence but after independence also we understand their value, their worth as far as other person's domination is concerned. When you are being dominated, when you are being mistreated, how are you to hit back? How you are going to respond to it is very nicely spoken by these writers. Okay, it is the learning for us for all time to come. So after this, when the diaspora writers came, diaspora means those who have gone to other countries and they write from there. Rajdi, Amitabh Ghosh, Chitra Banerjee, okay, Jhumpa Lahiri. So all these writers are diaspora writers. They have gone to other countries and they are writing. They are questioning all the existential issues of India. So, so how these diaspora writers emerged became a later issue. Okay, that followed. But the base was formed by these writers that we discussed today. Okay, then here comes the feminist movement. Feminist movement in India, how it came and how it evolved in India and how we took it up. This is more or less a post-colonial perspective. Okay, this was initially started in European countries with first, second, and third feminist waves that came. Okay, initially in 18th century when women did not have the right to vote, so they protested and they said that women suffrage should be included. So that was a protest, and they gained that later they were allowed to vote. Second wave came when they wanted equal rights in education, they wanted a free involvement in different walks of life equal to men. So that also second wave came, and feminists means those who speak on behalf of women. They again that was accepted, and in 19th century, early 20th century, these feminist writers or feminist activists, they got what they demanded. They got equality, equal to equality, free equal opportunity to study, to express. That was not there initially even for English women, but they came. Third world feminism came. Sorry, not third world, third wave of feminism came when people said that okay, this two wave is only for European ladies. European ladies have got different issues, and third world women have got different issues. Okay, so how can you address the whole issue under only these two waves of feminism? Third wave is needed when black woman issue should be included, when brown woman issue should be included. Okay, when all the third world country and the issues have to be included. So when all these women got included, that was the third wave. And then later on, you can see that transgender later, quite later, LGBTQ, all these issues came under the gender perspectives. Okay, but in India, you can see there were a few writers, initial writers. One was C.S. Lakshmi and Mahashweta Devi, Choti Munda and his arrow. So that was not typically feminist, but these are the feminist writers: Mahashweta Devi, C.S. Lakshmi, later Kamla Markandeya, Anita Desai, Nayantara Sehgal. They started to write in India, and they brought a wave for Indian writers, Indian women writers. You cannot say exactly feminist writers, but they were women writers also who started writing, who started proclaiming their position. So again, these women, they claimed their perspective of feminist writers. So they were the one who again formed the canon. And this canon was very much limited to the women's issue or feminist issues. Shashi Deshpande, Manju Kapoor, later if you read Ice Candy Man, Bapsi Sidhua. Okay, so these all writings are typically feminist writings where female empowerment was given due importance. Then after that came Dalit canon. Dalit literature came quite late in our country. Again, this was the shifting of canon when now in 20th century, late 20th century, 21st century, when reservations for Dalits came, and when Dalits used these reservations, they were now getting proper way to get themselves educated. No more discrimination were there. So Dalit people, they started reading, and after they got educated, they also started writing. Again, this was a shifting in the canon. You will see many writers. I have my specialization in Dalit literature as well, because my area is Indian literature. So I have read Urmila Pawar, Om Prakash Valmiki. Okay, these all writers. Then we have Baby Kamle. We have so many writers who talk about their issues. Okay, what Gandhi had initiated when he spoke about Harijan. Okay, and he had initiated a canon. Now Dalits are writing and they are setting up their canons. They said now, as now we are educated, we are capable, we will write for ourselves. So this power was mainly given by Ambedkar, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He is the father of our constitution. He is the maker of our constitution, and he was the one who spoke for this section of society who were till now very much suppressed, but gradually they came up. They faced all the adversities, and now they joined forces in literature. Now they have come equivalent to many other mainstream writers. Okay, they are now really empowered, and they are a source of inspiration to many identity who are still at the periphery of our society. They are a great inspiration. They are great thoughts they contain in their writing. Sharat Kumar Limbale, okay, all these writers now they are very much eminent in our field of literature. So with this, I have come to an end with your probably this is block 7. Tomorrow, as I was checking your timetable, you do not have your class tomorrow. Tomorrow is a public holiday. We'll be meeting day after. Day after is 18th, and I have my last day of teaching on 19th. I have left one purposefully. I have left one block. Okay, because that block is again talking about the
Madam,
same issue of
madam,
just a minute. That particular block is again talking about English in India, teaching in India. All those things I have already discussed. That is why I wanted to move ahead, because these things were more important for me to discuss. That's why I moved a bit ahead. But on my last day, I will wind up and I will include that block with you, because that will be a kind of revision for you. That block talks about the same issues. Yes, Maitri,
yes, ma'am.
tell me. You were
And
saying.
the last day will be 19th, right, ma'am?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Probably 19th.
And at 18th, in 18th, we have to meet at 6 o'clock only. Ma'am, am I audible?
No, I got disconnected. See, you said something. I was checking
Ma'am,
the
in
time.
18th, we have to meet at 6 o'clock only.
Yeah, same time. Don't you have your timetable? It is there, 18th and 19th. Or just give me time. Let me check. I will join if at all it gets. I will rejoin if at all it gets disconnected. Uh,
Okay.
wait, just hold on. Yes, with your timetable, today is 16th, tomorrow we do not have class. 18th we have a class, same 6 to 8, and 19th will be my last day. So we'll be bidding farewell on 19th.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. So whatever we discussed today, how did you take it? Did you have anything that is worth understanding?
Ma'am, we didn't expect that you will cover all the topics. You will be able to touch all the topics.
No, what I did, I had planned this because those things were very important. Which one? Gandhi and the
Dalit
starting of
canon,
canon.
Dalit
Yes,
canon,
yes. No,
and the
Dalit canon.
feminists.
See, Dalit canon, feminist canon, they will go fast because you can understand that. You can easily grasp it because feminist means whatever females are addressing, and you must be reading the text Kamla Markande and all those things. People initiated by Mahasweta Devi in India. Um, so that is a little bit easy for you to grasp. Even Dalit, if you see the oppressed class society, till now they were silent and they raised their voice because they got proper education. Okay, but that Gandhi and Nehru and how our freedom movement went and how canon went set at that time, that was important. So this is how I had planned to be very broad with that part. This part is easier because this comes under post-colonial period, our contemporary time. And during my the starting of today's class only, I said it won't be difficult for you to understand. It will be easy. You'll be able to connect. So those things, contemporary time, and the theory is initiated in contemporary time. You can comprehend. You can understand. Okay, you needed a broader idea about the colonial times, which is what I tried to give. And also, they were the ones who formed it. You saw, I went very detailedly with a few novels because they needed that explanation because
Yes, ma'am.
they formed the bedrock. Okay, that is important.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have read Home and the World,
Home and the
the
world, yes.
novel.
Ghore
Yes, ma'am.
Bahir,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
I do have that. Okay, then I will leave today. Again, we'll meet tomorrow. Not tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and we'll continue with our discussions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you,
You will,
ma'am.
you will leave.
Thank
Yes.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you, ma'am.